it's TxStampin Sharon. I have got the cutest little beach scene type of card for you today. I kind of went against all my rules, but it's such a cute card I had to share. Stay tuned to see what my rules are. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, you can do so below. After you subscribe, hit the notification bell. I upload videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. I have lots of new things to share with you from the annual catalog. If you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, you can contact me on the link below. Go to my website. You can contact me, give me your U.S. mailing address, and I'll pop one in the mail to you. Let's make my card. Look at this fun fold card. Is that not adorable? I was inspired by a card I saw on Pinterest, but I didn't have the designer series paper that she used. And I was like, hey, I can use an embossing folder. So I used the corrugated, so it gives it the look of the straps of the paper that she used. And I thought it might be helpful for you too, because if you see something, think about something else you have that you could use instead of, because I know designer series papers come and go, and sometimes we may not always have them. I loved this card. I used the Tropical Chic Thank You on the inside, sweet little thank you, and it is hidden under my little flap there, my little square. Now, the reason that I said in the beginning of the video is that I went against all of my rules. I pulled out a ton of framelits and everything. So she used the little fronds, so I had to use the fronds. So this is from Tropical Chic, Tropical Thinlit Dies. Then she used a stitched circle. So then I had to get my stitched shapes. This is all of those. Then she used little squares. So I had to get out my layering squares. And like I said, this is a lot for me to tell you. You have to buy all this. So I'm going to share with you a few things that if you don't have all of these, then I've got a few tips for you. So don't feel like you still can't make this card. Now, the chair, there's no other way you can do it without having this set. And this is the seasonal layers Thinlit Dies, okay? So lots of fun leaves and things in there, but you got to have the Adirondack chair. I'm sorry, I can fix everything else except for the fronds and the chair, okay? So I've made quite a few videos with Tropical Chic, so I bet you all have that now. So the first tip I have for you is when you're cutting out the chair, I don't know if you can see or not, it did not cut them all out. If you struggle with anything like this that's very detailed, all those little polka dots, all those little slats, put a piece of wax paper between your cardstock and then put the framelit on top. It will cut out beautifully and you'll get that. I mean, I even tried to use my paper piercer to poke it, and all I was doing was getting frustrated. I couldn't get those little tabs out. That's your first tip. All right, so the next tip is if you have a 2 1/4 inch punch, you don't have to use the stitched circles, because look at that. It's about 2 1/2 inches. 2 1/4 inches. You could use the 2 1/4 inch circle punch, or a 2 1/2 inch if you have that, okay? You just need a circle. I don't want to lose that. All right, so there's that. And then even though I use the layering framelits, layering squares, you could just cut your cardstock to be, probably I would do 2 1/2 by 2 1/2. And then I would do 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. So you can just cut your cardstock. You don't have to go all crazy like I did. And like I said, I never show that many. Like, you got to have $1 million worth of stuff to make this card. I just did it. And then I thought, well, what if they don't have all of that? All right. So I have fixed 3 solutions, I guess, or 2 solutions. Okay. So let's put our card together. First of all, I have a piece of crumb cake. I haven't used crumb cake in a while, but when I saw her colors, I was like, that is so beachy to me. The soft suede and the crumb cake and the pool party. This is 4 1/4 by 11 inches. Let me turn it this way. I scored it at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. So 5 1/2 is this, just like a regular card that we would open up. And then that 2 3/4 is going to fold backwards. So let's say you don't have any of this stuff. You could still use this fold and make a pretty card. So I have another tip for you. Remember my corrugated folder? Okay. So the first time I just ran the pool party through, look how it shredded it. It made it into like handmade paper or something. I was like, oh my, that didn't go well. So Stampin' Up's answer to that is just spritz it with water. I don't like doing that. I've always said that water and paper don't mix. You know, like if somebody has a bottle of water on the counter or on the work surface, I'm like, put a top on that because I just didn't want to do that. So let me show you what I did instead. I sacrificed a piece of Whisper White paper and I put that in first. Okay. And I will just reuse this over and over again. I've already used it like 3 times. And then I put my layer of my pool party. I'm going to show you exactly where I did it. I don't know if I can line it up exactly, but okay, I can't line it up exactly. There's a line right there. You see that line? If you will line the edge of your cardstock up with that line, then your straps will be straight. Otherwise, if you don't have it lined up with something visually that you can see, you might have some crooked little straps there. So, okay, so that's another tip for you. I love sharing tips and tricks with you guys. I hope that it is helpful to you. And let me hear in the comments below what you think about all the tips I'm sharing today. I'm going to use the multi-purpose glue, and I'm going to make the decision which side do I want up and which side do I want down. I like to use the multi-purpose glue because it gets in all of those grooves, and I don't have to worry about this layer popping off anytime soon. Notice how I didn't go down the sides? It's so I could pick it up. See, there's another tip for you. I mean, I am full of them. Okay, let's see. We're going to line this up here. The great thing about the multi-purpose is that you can kind of wiggle it. If you didn't get it on straight, you can kind of wiggle it a little bit. And by the way, that layer was 2 3/4 by 4 inches. I don't think I told you that. I'll have all the measurements in the description box below. Don't try to keep up with my measurements. It's kind of stressful. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to build this part right here. So I have my layers. And we're going to add the pool party to my crumb cake. And then I have my soft suede circle that is already done. And this one does have the stitching, but remember, you can use a punch. And the next thing I want to do is I want to add the chair to it. And I don't think I have shared this tip in a while. And I know I have a lot of new subscribers, which I love new subscribers. I love it when you guys subscribe. I'm going to take, Stampin' Up! Does sell a fine-tipped glue pen. I have found that a lot of people may struggle with that because the tip is very, very fine. And that's what you would use for this. But here's my cheater way. I'm just going to add some snail. And if you hold it up to the light, you'll be able to see, I know you can't see on the video, you'll see the adhesive through the slats, okay? So I'm just using my paper piercer, something thin. You could even use snips if you could get them in there. Just something, and it's almost like the metal is like a magnet. It just attracts right to it. And then when you hold it up, you can't see the snail anymore because it's on the tip of this. It's a great way to add things without having too messy of fingers and all of that. And then I just clean that off just like that. It just wipes right off. So next we're going to add our little chair, our little Adirondack chair there. And I want to add some snail on the back. And the reason I want the snail, let's see, let's get our card back in. I always like to do some eyeballing here. We don't want our fronds to come off too much there, okay? But we want one frond coming this way. So we're just gonna eyeball it. You see how I'm hovering over? Eyeball it there. And then, whoops, same thing over here. We just want it to hover off, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and add some dimensionals just because I have this in my hand, but I'm not adding it just yet to the card. We still have one more element that we need to stamp. This is a large circle. I am going to use 4 of the dimensionals. So I want to get my Pool Party ink pad. And I have a little scrap piece of paper here. I always like to hold my stamp onto the cardstock just to give that ink a good chance to absorb into the cardstock. And now I'm going to go, let's see, which framelit was that? By the way, that flower was from the Tropical Chic as well as the thank you, okay? And so I'm going to grab it and we'll just cut this out. All right, so now we're going to bring this back in and we want to add the flower. Clean up my area a little bit. We want to add the flower like right here, kind of sticking out a little bit. And I don't have any adhesive there, and that is kind of a tight spot. So I just grabbed my glue dots, my little mini glue dots. And I stuck a glue dot on one side. And then I brought this back in. And I just pinched it, kind of squeezed it, okay? All right, so let's put this on our layer. I want to show you my trick of how I eyeballed stamping on the inside. Okay, so we're going to add this to our other 2 layers. Like that. Look how cute. I love the beach. I love, love, love the beach. All right, so we're going to grab our multi-purpose glue again. And we're going to kind of center this, okay? So, where's our, let me add this in so you can see the centering. Okay. So we want this kind of centered. We only want adhesive on this side, okay? Or we're going to glue our card shut. So I like to just pick it up right there, my finger right there. And then I'm just going to do some glue, kind of coming to the edge there. I'll bring this back over. And I really, okay, so I don't want you to glue your card together. So I'm doing this so that you see, like, you don't want to see any glue up here, okay? Now, remember what I said, it is forgiving. So if you need to wiggle it, go ahead and wiggle. I'm just going to hold that down, okay? All right, so I have my layer that goes on the inside. This was 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I don't want to adhere it because, you know, sometimes we might make a mistake. So I like to stamp first and then adhere it. I have my soft suede and I have my thank you. And I know that this is in the center, so I'm going to go in the center. Okay. I'm going to close that down and you can't see my thank you. There you go. Now we can add it. Oh, what? One more thing. One more thing. We got to add some rhinestones. Let's see. Let's use this size. Rhinestone on the flower. So, like I said, I was pretty close to what inspired me on Pinterest. Again, I did not have her designer series paper. It had retired, and so there you go. I think my card is super cute, and I can't wait to send it to some of my beach bum friends. Can you just see the possibilities? This could be used for invitations, birthdays, or a thank you card like I did. Happy stamping, y'all!